Zbigniew Brzezinski, architect of the Democrats' neoliberal foreign policy since the Carter administration, has been Obama's backstage foreign policy Svengali since before his nomination in 2008. Brzezinski has long been the mastermind of the U.S. expansion of NATO to Russia's doorstep, the destabilization and Nazification of Ukraine, and the Obama administration's Asian pivot. His claim to fame, however, is based on the revival of the Great Game, the geopolitical contest between East and West for control of Central Asia and ultimately all of the Eurasian landmass. In order to implement this project, both Russia and China have to be destabilized, fragmented, and converted into willing vassals of U.S. imperialism. This was and still is to be accomplished by a variety of means: proxy wars on the periphery of both Russia and China, economic and diplomatic isolation, military encirclement, political democratization, and socio-cultural subversion. To promote this agenda, color revolutions, funded and directed by the U.S. State Department, George Soros-inspired neoliberal NGO human rights campaigns, and Clintonian humanitarian interventions are employed to spread chaos and allow the U.S. to meddle in the internal affairs of sovereign states to turn them into U.S. assets in its contention with the rising Russian and Chinese superpowers. All the current crises in the world today, from Ukraine, Syria, and the South China Sea, to the spread of terrorism in Europe and Africa, as well as the unprecedented flow of refugees from North Africa and the Middle East to Europe, are the result of these policies. But the best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. The heavy-handed U.S. policy in Ukraine against the interests of the Russian Federation have backfired, prompting Russia to pivot east in response to Western economic sanctions. The ever-strengthening alliance between Russia and China on all fronts is a deadly blow to U.S. foreign policy, which has long sought to pit the two against each other. The Sino-Russian alliance is complementary. Russia has the military hardware, technology, savvy, and will to defend its regional interests in both Europe and the Middle East, while China has the economic and diplomatic clout to advance its interests across the Eurasian landmass and into the rest of the world as well. The days of U.S. unilateralism are numbered. The Russian intervention into Syria at the request of the Syrian government has turned the tables on U.S. imperialism's attempt to impose regime change one more time in the region in order to maintain its hegemony. Flailing about trying to salvage some degree of face, the U.S. has tried one stratagem after another to turn the tables on Russia in the Syrian debacle. U.S. imperialism's strategy of using proxy forces to overthrow Bashar al-Assad's presidency has resulted in the rise of Saudi and Turkish-backed Takfiri terrorism in the guise of the so-called Islamic State, which has become a two-edged sword and a difficult client to control. The U.S. wish has been to use IS as a means to oust Assad and fragment Syria, as has been done in Iraq, the former Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, and elsewhere, so it can then pick up the pieces. But other players have other ideas that may not coincide with U.S. interests. Brzezinski's latest statements are an admission of failure. He is backtracking from his aggressive demands that the U.S. retaliate against Russia if it did not stop bombing U.S. assets in Syria. He is now advising some form of compromise and accommodation by saying, quote, "There is no great national benefit for Russia in Assad remaining indefinitely in office, and there is no great national benefit for the U.S. in forcing him to quit instantly, and there is also a shared interest in avoiding a major U.S.-Russia coalition." It is only Russia's show of power that has forced these conciliatory statements by Brzezinski. But he and the administration he represents talk with forked tongue and will continue to advance their agenda at all costs.